Hi, I'm Dr. Charlie Liu, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about eczema. This is the last video I'm going to do for now, and it just contains all the different tips and tricks that I haven't covered in the previous videos. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can reduce itch without using medications, whether to use bath and shower emollients, an odd trick that you can use with bleach baths, which sounds very odd, but does work for eczema. Yeah, anything else that I think of on the way. So let's start off with the bath and the shower emollients. So this is quite a common part of prescribing for eczema, but more recently you might have gotten a notification from your GP saying that we don't prescribe it anymore. In the Oxford area, where we're being told that we shouldn't prescribe bath and shower emollients. And there are a couple of different reasons for this, which I'm going to go through now. So number one is that we don't actually have any evidence that they help in any way. So when we prescribe bath and shower emollients as part of an eczema regime, and we follow people up, the people who use them versus the people who don't really seem to have any difference in the quality of their eczema. So it seems to be a bit of a waste of time to start off with. And when we look at how it works, there may be some reasons for this. So number one is that when you have a bath or a shower emollient, let's say you go upstairs and you fill your bathtub up with water, and you're bathing yourself or your child in there. Now, an average bathtub is something like 180 litres capacity. And let's say for simplicity's sake, you fill it up so that it has 100 litres of water, roughly halfway or so, and you dump the entire bottle of bath emollient in there and mix it in. Now, when you think about the dilution, the average bottle is about 500 mils. You've just filled up the bathtub with about 100 litres of water, so you're diluting it to about 0.5%. Whereas when you apply the cream directly to your skin, that's obviously 100% strength. So you're diluting it a huge amount, and the majority of that emollient is probably just getting flushed down the drain, where it's not doing anyone any good. So the amount of emollient that you're actually getting onto your skin and doing any useful jobs is incredibly minute. And then obviously it gets flushed down the drain, and because it's a cream, it contains a lot of oil, and that may solidify once it cools down. It's probably not doing your pipes any good either. So in general, we can use all emollients as soap substitutes. You don't have to use a specific bath or a shower one. So if you have one that you like, it seems to smell all right to you, fairly neutral, and it doesn't flare up your skin, it causes some good effect. If you use that emollient in general, you can just take a little bit of it in the palm of your hand, mix it in with some water when you're in the shower or the bath, and just apply it. It'll turn into a kind of soapy substance, and you can just apply that all over and then rinse it off very quickly, and that is exactly the same as a bath or a shower emollient. So that's what we generally recommend these days, and that's why we're stopping prescribing the use of bath or shower emollients. And if you are really wedded to your particular product and you want to use it, you can of course just go to the pharmacy and buy it. There's nothing stopping you there. In general, when we talk about washing, we know that when you're in the shower or the bath, obviously all that water that's going on, and then anything that you do use to wash with is probably going to start stripping away the oil on top of your skin. So in general, if you are going to shower or bath, try and make it as short as possible, and also do turn the temperature knob down a little bit. The hotter the water is, the more oil is going to come off your skin. So we want relatively lukewarm showers, and we want relatively short showers. For those of you who do like taking a nice long hot shower at the end of a day, I'm sorry, it's probably not going to be worth it when your eczema flares up. So yeah, do turn the temperature down a little bit, set a timer for yourself, 5 minutes or so, and try and get it all done in that time. If you're worried about the frequency of washing, some people with eczema actually choose to shower or bath less frequently in order to avoid this problem. If you're worried about the body odor side of things, it might be useful to know that on the body there's a couple of different types of sweat glands. There are eccrine glands and apocrine glands, and it's the apocrine glands that produce sweat that is then broken down by bacteria and then produces body odor. And those apocrine glands are only actually found in a couple of different areas. So we find them in the armpits, on the hands, the soles of the feet, and also in the nether regions, around the groin and around the bottom. So if you are not showering very often, if you're only doing it, let's say, a couple of times a week or every other day, and you're still worried about the possible smell, then it may be worth just getting a cloth and just wiping those particular areas, the armpits, the hands and the feet, the groin region, and that should help you to avoid any issues with body odor. So, moving on, we're going to talk about the slightly odd thing with bleach baths. The first time I heard about this, I was generally a bit shocked. I thought it was a very odd thing to do, but it is something that's recommended by the dermatologists over at the Oxford University Hospitals. I'll put a link to the leaflet in the description below so you can have a look yourself. Essentially, we take a small amount, about a half a cup, 150 mils of normal supermarket bleach, and you put that into your bath. Make sure to fill the bath up with water, at least a quarter of the way up, if not half at least, just to kind of dilute it down. And when it's diluted that much, it actually just acts as a gentle cleansing agent, and it will also be mildly antiseptic, so it'll get rid of the germs that are living on the skin. And use of that solution in a bathtub twice a week has actually been shown to improve eczema. So that may be another way that you can use to cleanse the skin if your current eczema regime isn't working very well. And the last thing I'm going to talk about very quickly are other methods of reducing itch. So as I've talked about extensively in the previous videos, itching is one of the biggest enemies in eczema, because when you itch, you invariably scratch away, and then your fingernails are going to be damaging the skin, possibly introducing bacteria into the skin, and that's going to perpetuate or flare up your eczema. So you want to reduce the itch as much as possible, partially through emollients, which I've talked about, partially through steroids, which I've talked about, but there are some other methods as well. So when we have the urge to itch, it's often kind of tempting to just go in and dig in with your fingernails and give it a good scratch. Obviously that's not a particularly good idea. So we do know that you can slightly reduce the sensation of the itch by patting the skin like this, just kind of giving it a bit of a slap and making it go slightly red, and that's not going to damage the skin barrier as much as if you dig in with your nails. So that may be useful, particularly if you're finding that the itching is unbearable. If you're right in the middle of a flare of eczema, slap away at the skin instead of scratching it. In general, you want to keep your fingernails as short as possible, cut it right down to the quick and give it a good rub with the nail file, and then also wash underneath the fingernails. You want to remove any germs that are living underneath the fingernail tip, because when you do scratch, which is always going to happen when you're half conscious and you're about to go to sleep, when you do eventually scratch, you're probably going to be introducing some bacteria and some germs underneath the skin. So you want to keep them as clean and short as possible, so you're reducing the damage and reducing the amount of germs that you're getting under there. Keeping the skin cool is also a useful tip. So generally, you want to kind of reduce the temperature in your bedroom. You want to use as thin a duvet as you can get away with without freezing to death. And it might be useful to pop your emollient in the fridge, so that when you do apply it, it has a bit of a soothing effect because it's cold. That will also help to reduce any bacteria that might be growing in your tub of emollient. If you've got a pump dispenser, obviously that's not a big problem. It's only if you've got the tub, you can sometimes introduce germs into there by accident. And the other thing that may be useful is that there are certain types of emollient that contain anti-itch agents. Urea is probably the most common one. So if itching is a big factor for you, you may want to ask your GP or your pharmacist which of the creams have an anti-itch factor and see if they help for you. They don't for everyone, but they do for some people. One of the common questions is, do antihistamines work for eczema? And the short answer is probably not for most people. There is not a great deal of evidence that antihistamines reduce the amount of itching or the severity of eczema or the number of flares. There is a Cochrane review, a big kind of systematic review of multiple studies, which I'll put the link to in the description below. And you can have a look at that yourself. But the upshot of it is there might be a small amount of effect, so you're probably not going to do yourself any major harm from using antihistamine. But similarly, there's not much evidence that they work very well. Saying that, if you suffer from an allergy, let's say you're allergic to house dust mites or cat fur, and you're exposed to those on a regular basis, then those may cause you to feel more itchy in general. And if you itch, you scratch, and you scratch, you're probably going to worsen your eczema. So for people who do suffer from an allergy, it may be useful to take an antihistamine. As I talked about in one of my previous videos, eczema is not generally considered to be an allergic condition, but sometimes people have allergies which might worsen the eczema. So in that particular situation, it may be useful. The other situation where it might be useful, but again, there's not a lot of evidence to say whether it is or not concretely, is that there are certain antihistamines which have a bit of a mild drowsy effect. So chlorphenamine is probably the one that we use most commonly, and that's often used in children. So if you find that you're having difficulty sleeping because of a flare-up of eczema, it might be useful to take a dose of that chlorphenamine before bedtime and just help you to kind of drift off to bed. Slightly confusingly, Piriton, the brand name, sell 2 different types of antihistamines. They may even sell more types of antihistamines. So I believe they sell cetirizine quite commonly, which is non-sedating, and also chlorphenamine, which is the sedating one. If you're confused about which is which, the non-sedating one is once a day, and the sedating one you can take 2 or 3 times a day in most cases. So if you find the one that you have to take multiple times a day, that's the one that's going to make you sleepy. If you're confused, obviously just ask your GP or your pharmacist about it. I think that's probably everything that I can think of that I haven't covered in the previous videos. Obviously, I'll put the links to the videos below so that you can have a look if you haven't seen those so far. And I hope that's been useful for you. If I do think of anything else in the future, or if I get any corrections from people, if I go to another talk by a dermatologist and I'm told that what I'm actually talking about is wrong, then I will do an update to give you the best information I can do. All right, have a very nice day, and I hope that helps. Bye.